There is a question that echoes quietly in the minds of millions, a question that lingers in the silence after laughter fades, in the pause after a conversation ends. Why am I not truly liked? It is a question that stings, that unsettles, that drives us to seek approval, to chase popularity, to wear masks that conceal our true selves. Yet, despite our efforts, despite our longing to be embraced, most people remain on the outside looking in, admired perhaps, but not truly liked. Why? The answer is not found in charm or wit, in beauty or brilliance. It is found in the invisible threads that bind human hearts: sincerity, empathy, and the courage to be real. Dale Carnegie, whose words have outlasted empires, understood this truth. He saw that the world is filled with people desperate to be interesting, but starving to be interested. We strive to impress, yet we forget to connect. We speak to be heard, but rarely listen to understand. And so we become actors on a stage, applauded, but alone. To be truly liked is not to be the loudest voice in the room, but the quiet presence that makes others feel seen. It is not to collect admirers, but to create allies. It is not to dominate, but to elevate. The world remembers Abraham Lincoln not for his towering speeches alone, but for the warmth with which he greeted friend and foe alike. He listened, he cared, he made people feel important, and in doing so, he became unforgettable. But why do most people fall short? The answer is as old as time: self-absorption. We are taught to compete, to compare, to measure our worth against the shifting standards of others. We become so consumed by our own needs, our own anxieties, our own ambitions, that we forget the simple power of presence. We forget that every person we meet carries a silent burden, a hidden hope, a longing to be valued. In our rush to be liked, we overlook the very thing that makes us likable: our ability to care. Imagine a world where every interaction is an invitation to connect, not a transaction to win, where the currency is kindness, not charisma, where the goal is to understand, not to outshine. This is the world that Dale Carnegie envisioned, and it begins with a single act: listening. To listen is to honor another's story, to step outside yourself and into the life of another. It is the foundation of empathy, the birthplace of trust, the spark that ignites genuine affection. Empathy is not a technique. It is not a strategy to be deployed for personal gain. It is a way of being, a commitment to see the world through another's eyes. When you listen with empathy, you send a message more powerful than any compliment. You matter. Your feelings are valid. Your presence enriches my life. This is the secret that Lincoln, Ford, and Disney understood. They knew that to lead, to inspire, to be truly liked, you must first care enough to listen. But empathy alone is not enough. It must be paired with sincerity, the courage to be genuine, to drop the mask, to show up as you are. Sincerity is the antidote to the superficiality that plagues modern relationships. It is the force that transforms acquaintances into friends, colleagues into collaborators, strangers into allies. When you are sincere, you invite others to do the same. You create a space where authenticity is not just allowed, but celebrated. Sincerity is not perfection. It is not the absence of flaws, but the willingness to own them. It is the humility to admit mistakes, the strength to ask for help, the grace to forgive. When you are sincere, you give others permission to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, to be real. This is the soil in which trust grows, the foundation upon which lasting relationships are built. Confidence, too, plays its part, not the swagger of arrogance, but the quiet assurance that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for.
Confidence is the light that draws others in, the anchor that steadies you in the storms of life. But true confidence is never loud. It does not demand attention or seek validation. It is content to shine from within, to let others have their moment, to celebrate the success of those around you.
To be truly liked is to master the art of encouragement. It is to see the potential in others, to speak life into their dreams, to lift them when they stumble. Encouragement is the gift that costs nothing, but means everything. It is the gentle word in a moment of doubt, the smile in a sea of indifference, the belief that someone can be more than they are. When you encourage, you become a mirror in which others see their best selves reflected. Gratitude is the final thread. It is the recognition that every relationship is a gift, every moment an opportunity, every person a teacher. Gratitude transforms envy into admiration, competition into collaboration, scarcity into abundance. When you are grateful, you become a magnet for positivity, a beacon of hope, a source of joy. People are drawn to those who appreciate, who celebrate, who give thanks. Adaptability and resilience are the guardians of likability. The world changes, people change, circumstances shift. Those who cling to rigid expectations, who demand that others conform to their standards, are left behind. But those who adapt, who embrace change, who see every challenge as a lesson, become indispensable. Resilience is the courage to keep showing up, to keep caring, to keep believing in the goodness of others, even when it is not returned. Learning is the engine that drives transformation. To be truly liked is to be a lifelong student, not just of facts, but of people. It is to approach every interaction with curiosity, to ask questions, to seek understanding, to grow from every encounter. The most likable people are those who never stop learning, who never stop evolving, who never stop striving to be better. Leadership, in its truest form, is not about power or position. It is about influence, the ability to inspire, to motivate, to bring out the best in others. The leaders we remember, the ones we follow willingly, are those who make us feel valued, who listen to our stories, who believe in our dreams. They are the ones who understand that the greatest legacy is not what you achieve, but who you lift along the way. This is the path that Dale Carnegie walked, the path that Lincoln, Ford, and Disney blazed, the path that is open to you. It is not easy. It requires effort, intention, and a willingness to grow. But the rewards are beyond measure. Relationships that nourish your soul, influence that endures, a life that matters. So if you find yourself wondering why you are not truly liked, look not to the world for answers, but within. Ask yourself, am I listening? Am I sincere? Am I confident enough to let others shine? Am I encouraging, grateful, adaptable, resilient, and eager to learn? The answers to these questions will shape your destiny. For in the end, to be truly liked is not to be perfect, but to be present. Not to impress, but to connect. Not to be admired, but to be loved. And that is a legacy worth pursuing. To be truly liked is to become a rare presence in a world crowded with noise and pretense, a presence that feels like a breath of fresh air, a safe harbor, a light in the fog. It is to walk into a room and bring with you not the weight of expectation, but the warmth of acceptance. It is to listen so deeply that others forget their insecurities, to care so honestly that others drop their guard, to celebrate so wholeheartedly that others begin to believe in themselves again. Think of the people you have admired most, not for their achievements, but for how they made you feel. Perhaps it was a teacher who saw your potential when you doubted yourself, a friend who sat with you in silence when words were too heavy, a mentor who listened without judgment,
a leader who believed in your vision even before you had the courage to voice it. These are the people who are truly liked, not because they sought approval, but because they offered it freely to others. History is filled with such souls. Eleanor Roosevelt, who transformed the role of First Lady by championing the voiceless, was beloved not for her position, but for her compassion. She made time to listen to those the world ignored, to advocate for those who could not speak for themselves. Her power did not come from authority, but from empathy. She understood that to be truly liked, you must be truly present. Walt Disney, whose imagination changed the world, was not just a dreamer, but a listener. He wandered his parks, talking to guests, listening to children, absorbing every detail. He knew that the magic of Disney was not in the castles or the rides, but in the experience of being seen, heard, and valued. That is why people return, generation after generation, not for the spectacle, but for the feeling of belonging.
To be truly liked, you must cultivate the courage to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of connection. It is the willingness to admit you don't have all the answers, to ask for help, to share your fears and failures as well as your hopes and victories. When you are vulnerable, you invite others to do the same. You create a space where honesty is safe, where imperfection is welcomed, where authenticity is the only requirement. But vulnerability requires trust, and trust is built in the smallest of moments. It is built when you keep a confidence, when you honor a promise, when you show up even when it's inconvenient. Trust is not a grand gesture. It is 1,000 tiny acts of integrity. It is the consistency of your character, the reliability of your word, the steadfastness of your support. And yet, trust is fragile. It can be shattered by a single betrayal, a careless word, an act of indifference. To be truly liked, you must guard trust as your most precious asset. You must be willing to apologize when you fall short, to make amends when you hurt others, to rebuild what has been broken. This humility is not a sign of weakness, but of strength, the strength to put relationships above pride, to choose connection over being right. Another essential ingredient is respect. To be truly liked, you must respect others. Not just those who agree with you or those who can help you, but everyone you encounter. Respect is the recognition of another's dignity, the acknowledgement of their worth, the willingness to treat them as equals. It is the way you look someone in the eye, the way you remember their name, the way you listen without interrupting. Respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship, the glue that holds communities together, the antidote to division and discord. But respect must begin within. You cannot give what you do not possess. To be truly liked, you must first like yourself, not in a spirit of arrogance, but of acceptance. You must make peace with your imperfections, embrace your strengths, forgive your failures. Self-respect is the wellspring from which all other respect flows. When you honor yourself, you give others permission to honor you in return. Confidence, then, is not the absence of doubt, but the willingness to act in spite of it. It is the quiet conviction that your presence matters, that your voice has value, that your contribution is needed. Confidence is not about being the center of attention, but about being centered in yourself. It is the courage to stand alone when necessary, to speak your truth even when it trembles, to pursue your purpose with unwavering resolve. But true confidence is never threatened by the success of others. It celebrates, it uplifts, it encourages. The most likable people are those who shine a light on others, who share the stage, who rejoice in the victories of their peers.
They are generous with their praise, sincere in their compliments, quick to acknowledge the efforts of those around them. Their confidence is contagious, inspiring others to step into their own greatness.